Good afternoon. It's great to see so many of you back with us today. And to those of you who are new, welcome to the Take Your Job Search to the X Level, presented by General Electric Credit Union and the Xavier Leadership Center. Both organizations share a mission to serve families, individuals, and communities across the greater Cincinnati region. We're excited to do this through our 8-session series to help you learn what works and what doesn't directly from professional career coaches, human resource executives, and hiring managers who work with some of the area's largest employers. For today's session, we ask that you use the chat feature for the requested exercise feedback, questions, and comments, and we will monitor chat and share your thoughts, ideas, and reflections. At the end, we'll have time for questions and answers, but feel free to submit your questions on the chat as they come up for you. Today's session, Finding Potential Job Opportunities, is led by our partner, Jason Nargang. Jason is the Assistant Director of Student Veterans Center at Xavier University. He brings a wealth of experience, knowledge, and perspective in the areas of coaching, networking, career advice, and veterans transitions, among other career-centric topics. He earned his master's degree in leadership and management and is a certified senior professional of human resources. Jason, thank you for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and experience.
Hey, good morning, Carol. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Just one last mic check.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, finding potential job opportunities. Somewhere out there is the one for you. Eventually, it'll just land in your lap, and you'll wonder, gosh, that was so easy. But there's a lot that goes on before you get to that point. Having been through that several times myself, I know what it's like, and when you get there, it's a revelation. So today we're going to talk about how we've had some different speakers, 5 different ones to this point, including myself, that we're all positioning ourselves at a certain point along the line to get that interview and go on to your next career. So this is one step in that journey. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. Quick agenda note, I'm about interaction. I'm going to hopefully share with you some things that'll be of value today, but I would expect to learn as much from the audience as you'll learn from me. This is an interactive workshop. So as Carol mentioned, please use that chat function. If you have a comment or thought, or if you have another idea or a tip or trick that I don't present here, and again, I don't have all the answers, but I've broken a few codes along the way. Please chime in. This is a quick agenda. We're going to go over the most utilized platforms. We're not going to say one is the best or one is not the best. We're just going to say these are how the platforms are utilized. Things like Monster, Indeed, Intuit, and we'll get into that in a second. Then we want to talk about broadening your touch points. Obviously, you can't sit at home every day, all day in your bunny slippers with your cup of coffee in your bathrobe, searching the internet trying to find that golden nugget. You've got to do a multitude of different things and look in different areas to try and find that career that you've been looking for. LinkedIn is my favorite. I've dedicated a slide just to that. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'll show you a couple tips and tricks there. I'm sure everybody's on LinkedIn. Everybody raise your hand if you've been on LinkedIn. Good. Okay, that's 100%. If you're not on LinkedIn, you need to get on there and you need to manage that online profile. But again, we'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about some other takeaways. There's a lot of things that aren't necessarily specific to this exact topic today, but they're things that I've learned that really helped me in my job search that I'd like to leave you with. And then we'll wrap up here in a little bit. All right, moving right along. Somewhere is your needle in that great big haystack. And it's a big haystack. It's a lengthy search. Sometimes people search to try and find that. And there's a multitude of different platforms that you can use to try and get there. You can see all the different ones on there. I've listed some of the bigger nuggets. There's obviously dozens and dozens more job search sites out there that employers use to post jobs and that you'll go look at to try and find that next career opportunity. All right, so I'm sure everyone has recognized at least one or two or perhaps all of those search sites. There's tons of them out there. Let's just wander through some of these most utilized platforms real quick. I'm going to skip ahead to Monster and Indeed. Obviously, the two largest, most widely used, most widely recognized platforms that are out there. huge websites. They have tremendous bandwidth, hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of different jobs and postings, used as much by employers as it is by job seekers, where they'll post their positions that are available. Monster, I think, tends to lean more toward maybe some entry-level type positions, or maybe even mid-level, but they have the traffic and the bandwidth, so the employers can use the different filters to manage their applications with an ATS system, an applicant tracking system. Indeed is similar. Again, high traffic. A lot of times it's in career fields that have a lot of high turnover, and because they need to continually feed that well of employees. And you throw in something like COVID in a pandemic environment like this, it throws everything kind of on its ear. I'll be honest, I haven't been out searching for a job on Indeed, but not lately, but I wonder how employers are using this to greater advantage, and how really job seekers are using it as well. Indeed seems to be the most all-inclusive from what I've seen. It runs the gamut from anywhere from warehouse work to medical profession to engineering, HR, and everything in between. So if it's to be found, Indeed is probably the place to start, with Monster a close second. But those are kind of the two big stars on the block. I like Career Builder. Career Builder seems to have a little bit more of a simple interface. Things are very, very easily discoverable on Career Builder. And I'd like to real quick just share one of the screens here that's on Career Builder. You see that, Carol? That came up with Career Builder. Okay. This is only 2 clicks into Career Builder. If you're someone who has not decided what it is that they want to do in their next career, this is a really neat repository of thousands of different potential job titles or careers that you could embark on. This is under the P's. You've got painter, paralegal, pastor, parts manager. This is really handy if you want to just go out and go, gosh, what is out there? I haven't decided. I would recommend using that if you have a minute. All right, let's get back to our slides here. Okay, Glassdoor. Glassdoor is interesting. The best parts of Glassdoor, unfortunately, are behind a firewall where you have to pay to get access to it. But you can get all kinds of great insights into what the company culture is like. So you've all heard it before. You don't want to go work for a company that you don't fit well with. It's not worth your time, and it's not worth their time. This will give you the no-kidding insight from people who have actually worked at these different companies, and give you a little bit of a peek under the door, if you will. It also has a great salary piece to it. Again, some of that is behind that pay for service firewall, but you can glean some information from it. If you really are looking for the culture and the salary piece, this Glassdoor is a really good place to start. LinkedIn has a great salary site as well that's tied to it. So those are the 2, in my opinion, that are the best to use for looking for salary information. I'd like to open it up to a question here real quick before we get into specialized platforms. What sites are you all using the most? Maybe give me your top 3 that you find most useful for you, and what careers you're potentially looking for. So if you can just throw that in the chat real quick, we'll give you a minute, and Carol will read some of those back for us.
Yeah. So what platforms are you using, and for what careers are you looking?
Right.
Great question. So we got LinkedIn and Indeed in HR positions, LinkedIn for technical project management, LinkedIn Career Builder, learning and development. We've got Monster, HR, and L&D, Glassdoor salaries, Indeed, let's see here, lots of chat, which is great. RN leadership, so Glassdoor, LinkedIn. Love the learning tab on those. So LinkedIn for IT, and LinkedIn for any industry specific jobs. Someone finds a lot of spam from Monster and Indeed. Let's see. OKI for supply chain. So that's a very specific website, if you will. Yeah, great one. ZipRecruiter. So ZipRecruiter for IT. SHRM, the SHRM site, and HR for HR leadership roles. USA Jobs. Indeed and LinkedIn for nonprofit government work. Great. So great answers.
Wow.
Thank you. Got some new ones in there.
Yeah, that's super. ZipRecruiter is another one that I've used.
Here's another one. You and I, Jason, talked about this too. Ladder for some of those higher level, sales exec or exec positions. Great one.
Sure. And a common theme, obviously, with all of these is job postings. You're going out there to try and find that next career opportunity. Maybe submit your resume, hopefully get a call back in an interview. But one of the neat things about all of these different platforms is go to it sometime without trying to find a job and just poke around the website and see all the different features that it has. We mentioned some of the things that Career Bureau has, like that repository of different careers. There's tons of neat stuff out there that'll give you tips on job searching, on resume prep, on interview prep, different things like that. So they actually do a pretty good job across the board. Obviously, the bigger ones will have some more in-depth type stuff, but let's talk about specialized platforms. I know everyone kind of weighed in there and on some of the specialized things. There are boards out there that are exceptionally career-centric. So you have Monster and Indeed, where you have the wide spectrum, and then you have small ones like SHRM, or one's Dice, this company, a website called Dice for tech developers, engineers, programmers. There's one called Variety Careers, which posts media type jobs, television, radio production related. Adzuna is a good one for advertising as well. Law Jobs for attorneys, paralegals, or anything related to the legal profession. PR Week, public relations. Craigslist actually has some interesting ones on it, but ComArts is one that has a lot of graphic design, writing centric type jobs. And I'd be curious, I know we kind of asked this one, but we won't spend too much time on it, but Carol, has anybody used any very, very specific to your career field websites, and have you found them to be more or less effective than the Monster, Indeed, Career Builder, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we did hear about SHRM, and OKI, so those are two, but yeah, Association of Talent Development is one. Work in sports.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So Kelly, is that a website, or you work in sports and there is a website? Share some more on that. Higher ed jobs.
Higher ed, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a couple there. Coleman ERM for short-term engagements. Oh, that's a great one. Oh, there's a work in sports website. And she's going to share the link with us so we can send it out in the email. Yeah, anybody who wants to share some links, we can always put those in our email to the follow-up email. So great.
Yes,
thank you.
Please do share those. This, again, from an interactive perspective, this is how we share information as our own network and try and help someone else out. I know Annette mentioned that last week. How can you help someone else out? So here's a good opportunity for you to do that here.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. You got some more comments?
No, that's it. Yeah, just those. Yeah.
Good. So you've got all these platforms that will take your resume, and they may even take $1 or $2 out of your pocket for you to get the right access. And you're going to go out there and you're going to have your resume posted all over the place, right? Well, like Annette talked about last week, the 200-7-1 rule: 200 resumes, 7 interviews, 1 job. But you want to avoid this type of shotgun effect where you drop your resume on every single job that you can possibly find. Now, those are more and more touch points that you have for a potential callback or potential interview, but you need to protect your resume. You don't want to be seen as someone who will take anything. Unless you will take anything, then I think that's the one caveat. But I'm going to venture to guess that each of you listening today, or anybody that you know that's in the job market, has something in mind that they want to do specifically. And so you're targeting those specific areas. Protect your resume, protect your online presence, protect your value proposition by not applying for everything. Be a little bit choosy in what you do. Having said that, you want to broaden your touch points. So what does that mean exactly? I'll go back to the bunny slipper and robe and cup of coffee example. You could spend at least 8 hours a day on all these sites, doing a deep dive every day into trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, or trying to find every potential job you possibly could. But I don't know that that's really the best use of your time. Pick 1 or 2 or 3 sites that you think work best for you. There's some that are, we talked about the career-centric websites. Maybe your time is better spent working on those type 1 or 2 sites, and then a smattering of Monster, Indeed, Intuit, etc. What you want to make sure that you do is keep on top of things, keep version control of your resume. I know in my job search, I'd come home and wander downstairs to my office and be playing around with my resume down there for a bit. And I come upstairs, my wife would say, well, what have you been doing? I said, I'm updating my resume. She said, yeah, you did that yesterday. I said, I'll probably do it again tomorrow too. So as you're pushing out these resumes, you want to make sure that you're keeping them up to date and you're keeping them consistent. And as one of our previous presenters said, make a list and keep track of all that. So you can see this theme that's developing here. Broadening these touch points, eventually we're going to get to that interview. Annette also mentioned helping folks, as I said before, consider searching for a job for one of your fellow job seekers. I had an experience similar to that where I was searching for something, and I knew a friend of mine was in the IT business and was looking for an IT-centric marketing position. And as I'm looking for my HR type job, I came across something like that. And I sent him a note and I said, hey, Brian, I saw this I think it was on LinkedIn. This sounds like something you might be interested in. I sent it over to him, and he followed up and actually applied. Didn't get a call back on it, but it was something that he may not have seen if I hadn't sent it to him. Maybe he would have, I don't know. But when you get out of the mindset of that myopic, looking through a straw, I've got to find me a job, and open it up, it's amazing what kind of things you can find out there. So consider doing that. Again, we're all in this together, whether it's COVID or if you're participating in the Job Search Focus Group or North Kentucky Accountability Group, there's all kinds of folks there that can lend a hand and can help you out. All right, I got to take a drink here for a second. We're going to talk career fairs. All right. Broaden your touch points. I know everyone loves career fairs, right? When I was in the job hunt, initially, after I transitioned from active duty Air Force into the civilian sector, I hated career fairs. That's because I didn't know how to use the career fair properly. I went thinking I got my coat and tie, I'm dressed to the nines, I've got my elevator speech, I've got a networking card, a whole stack of resumes. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna come out of here with a job. That's what I'm going for. Well, 9 times out of 10, or even more, when people go to a job fair with that mindset, they're going to leave having failed. The standard being, I have to find a job. They leave there not having a job. They may have some contacts, may have dropped a couple of resumes, but they won't have a job. Go for the experience, go for the practice, go for the networking opportunity that's presented by career fairs. Remember, all of these folks, these recruiters, or whoever it may be that is at the job fair, are looking for quality talent for their company. But they're not going to offer you a job on the spot most of the time. Go there with the opportunity of networking, saying, I'm going to try and find 6 or 8, 10 or 12 good contacts. Let that be your goal. When you do that, it's amazing how the pressure drops. Now you're not under that pressure to get out there with a job, but if you come out of there with 10 business cards with a follow-up opportunity for someone within the HR area of that particular company, now you've succeeded. You've came away with some actionable type opportunities. Now you go back, now you write your thank you cards, or you re-engage, or you set up an informational interview or something along those lines. So that's where career fairs can be really, really beneficial. It takes practice, and this kind of goes into the networking piece, but it's more about finding those hidden jobs. So I went to a career fair, and Perfetti Van Mel was there. And if you're not familiar with Perfetti Van Mel, they make the Airheads candy. And I happened to walk by there. I don't know anything about Perfetti Van Mel. I knew they were going to be there, but they weren't one of my targeted companies. But I saw the Airheads, and I said, "Oh man, are you giving away Airheads? Those are my kid's favorite candy." I said, "Can I take a couple of these for her?" "Oh, sure, take a few here and there." I'm like, "How do you make these?" She loves these things, and she asked me the other day. She says, "Why are they so chewy? And how do you know?" Anyway, the point being is that that started up a conversation. Okay, it kind of broke down the walls real quick. It wasn't me going, "Hey, I really like to work in the HR department in your company. Can you give me a job?" It's not about that. It's about developing those relationships. Another one, I can't remember the name of the bread company, but it's a local bread company. And I said, "Hey, that's the only kind of wheat bread that my 6-year-old will eat." So right away you developed a rapport, and then you start chatting a little bit, and you tell them about sandwiches and peanut butter and jelly. And then they say, "Well, tell me about yourself." Well, glad you asked. And so that's where career fairs can be exceptionally beneficial to you. Let's talk about online professional meetings. I know this has been mentioned in the past. Annette mentioned Meetup, but I wanted to foot stomp that here. There are a ton of opportunities out there. And I'm a HR guy. SHRM is my home. There's a fellow that puts on an HR roundtable. You may know who I'm talking about, but that's HR centric. That's where I go to try and learn more about my HR career field, what other people are doing, what other jobs might be out there, or how I can help somebody else link up with a potential career opportunity. Friends and family, and I know Annette stole a bunch of my thunder, darn it, but she's so right, and we can't emphasize this enough. Some of your best allies are your friends and family. If your friends and family and your friends' friends who you know are close with and can serve as a confidant for you, tell them that you're looking. Tell them what you're looking for. Tell them that you're open to meeting with folks. Tell them that you would love to make some new connections. Be humble about it, but I'd add a little bit of an aggressive approach, just saying, "Hey, I'm ready to go. I've got all these great skills, and I have the time right now, and I'd love to, engage in some informational interviews." I have my father-in-law, who taught high school in Madera, Ohio, for 37 years, knows everybody in Madera. It's a challenge to go to the grocery store with a man, because a 15-minute grocery store turns into an hour's worth of what amounts to networking. And invariably he'll come home and say, "Hey, Jason, did you know so-and-so? I know you were trying to get a job, or knew somebody that was working with this company. I just met this guy." And that's how it works. And that goes back to the networking as to how you find a job, but it's really more about another touch point. Where are those hidden jobs? And that's what today's topic is all about. How do you find those opportunities? Okay.
So Jason, if we stayed on this for one, Jason?
Yeah, go ahead.
If anyone in the group, or if you know how to find those career fairs, there's a lot of Zoom career fairs right now and online career fairs. And if anyone has any ideas or links or places where they hear about those career fairs, and maybe you do as well, I'd love to be able to provide that resource if we can find that.
But yeah, so let me give you just one quick example, and then I'll open it up kind of for a question. In my personal experience, as a member of the Northern Kentucky Accountability Group, met with one of the career counselors down there, got to know him pretty well, knew who I was, what I was about, what I was looking for. And while I was in transition, he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I've got this company. I think they're looking for you." And that's exactly what he said. And lo and behold, he made a warm handoff, got an interview, and eventually landed that job. And so that's how those additional touch points will work. So you got to leverage those to your advantage. So I'd like to kind of pause for a minute and just throw a question out to the group. Maybe you can share a similar story with us, a couple sentences or something like when a hiring manager or HR professional reached out to you when you weren't expecting it, something that just came totally out of left field because you had broadened your touch points. And what made them reach out to you, and how did your online presence help you to be found by them?
Yeah, so there's one, let's see. So thanks for everyone putting in how to find career fairs. We'll capture that and send that out as well. So a former boss left his employment and reached out to bring me on board where he had gone. So former bosses are amazing, can be amazing, right? So keeping in touch with former employees that you've worked with in the past, that's a great example.
Well, and that goes to kind of one of the takeaways, and everyone knows this, but it demonstrates it here very well. Never burn a bridge. Right. Never burn a bridge. Maintain those relationships. It's critical to our success.
And that kind of goes back to our beginning one, or, you know, at the beginning, we talked about building your brand. So if you have a great brand, people are going to recommend you. Previous coworker told me that a job in their new workplace had an opening that was suited for me, and says, yes, never burn a bridge. So yeah, thank you for that. So great.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing those. Got my current position reconnecting on Facebook with an old colleague. Told him I was looking to come back to the area, reached out to me, and 10 months later they had an opening 10 months later. Great. Yeah, Facebook reconnecting with everyone is a wonderful idea. Previous boss helped me find a job, and now she's a reference. So great. Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Good deal. Okay. Moving right along to my favorite subject, LinkedIn. Now, I will profess that I am not a power user of LinkedIn. I know how to use it pretty well, and I know a couple tips and tricks that I didn't know as a junior user. There are some folks who are a whole lot better at it than I am, but LinkedIn is an exceptionally powerful tool. It bridges the gap better than any other site, really, between the networking piece and the job search piece. There's a couple quick tips I want to roll through here at the front end. Somebody stole my thunder too. They talked about linking up with or reconnecting with your LinkedIn contacts. I'm as guilty of it as anybody. I've got, I don't know how many contacts. It's well over 500, at least according to the website. But reconnect with some of those folks that you haven't talked to for a few months, maybe, or even a year. Just a quick note, say, hey, how you doing? Hope everything's going well in the COVID environment. I hope you're not going, getting cabin fever or anything like that. A little bit about myself, a little bit of an update. Moved here, did this, got a certification. Looking for a next opportunity. If you know of anybody, let me know. Hope you're doing well. Kisses and hugs. Jason, connect with those folks. They're already connected with you. Leverage those connections. Okay, I'm going to assume that there's some folks that don't know how to change your LinkedIn URL. So your LinkedIn URL is your own individual link that people can click on. It'll take you right to the profile. Some people put a Q code on their business card or the networking card, or will have it on their resume. So real quick, I want to share with you how to do that on LinkedIn. Hopefully this is still working. So this is how you edit your URL. So you're on your main profile page. You just go right over here where it says edit public profile and URL. It's this simple. Let me move and then you hit the little pen right there. Now you can call your LinkedIn link whatever you want. LinkedIn assigns you a whole bunch of letters and numbers and nothing that anybody's ever going to remember. Find something that's unique to you, put it in there, and it makes it really, really easy for folks to go to your URL. JDNGANG, that's my first initial, middle initial, and then a shortened version of my last name. That's also my email address, jdngang@gmail.com. And so there's commonality there. So that's just one tip. If you haven't done that, I highly recommend that you do that. It surprises me in my work as a career coach how many people didn't know that existed and that haven't changed it. So I'd recommend doing that as well. Let's see there's another tip in here. While I'm in here, I want to go to LinkedIn. That way I won't have to share my screen as many times. So if you go back to your profile, back to linkedin.com. Come on, wakey, wakey. Okay, so if you go to your profile, and if you're in job search mode and you're actively looking for your next career, you want people to know that, and they can see that right here on your picture. There's a trick to do that. What you do is you go down here that says, show recruiters you're open to work. Now, this will broadcast to not just recruiters, but also anybody that views your profile. So what you do is you click on this, and you say, I want to be in HR, Human Resources Manager. These are where I want to be, and immediately I'm actively applying for jobs. Then you got to click this down arrow. And if you go to share with all LinkedIn members or recruiters only, depending on which one you choose, you may or may not get the open to work. So you want to go to all LinkedIn members. So click on that. Add to profile. And we will say no thanks. Now look at my picture. See, it says open to work. That little sash that you can put on there. So that way people know right away that you're looking for an opportunity. So that's another trick from LinkedIn. All right, I'm going to stop sharing on that
Now,
one. And
one tip is if you're currently employed, you probably only want to share with recruiters and not have your hashtag open to work. So
Sure.
It seems obvious, but you can open it up to recruiters without it being public. Now, your own recruiter at your company may see that as well, but if you are open to looking and it's okay for recruiters to contact you and be seen, that's one option. But if you're truly open to work and want everyone to know, Jason, that's a new thing, I think, too, that hashtag open to work. So that's wonderful.
Well, and that's why Carol's the director of the Leadership Center. That's a very, very important nuance, that if you didn't have the experience, you wouldn't know. So thanks for that, Carol. That's excellent. All right, let's go bounce back here to our slides. Okay, where are we on the slides? Power users. Figure out who the power users are. Can't mention any names, but there's a couple folks locally that have lots and lots and lots and lots of connections. Figure out who they are, connect with them on a genuine level, and that opens up your network that much more. Find out who they are. You'll learn by poking around out there on LinkedIn and following different people, which is something else. Follow a wide range of people and companies. When I first hear of someone, or if somebody says, hey, do you know somebody, or you're going to have a meeting with someone, or so-and-so called, the first thing I do is look them up on LinkedIn to see if they're out there, just as a habit. And invariably, I may, if I find them interesting, or they're in a career field that I'm interested in, or that I want to follow, or that one of my students is looking at, I will often follow them and or their company to see what they're posting about. There's a really great story. I have a colleague that works at a company in Cincinnati, and I follow him on LinkedIn. One day I was out there poking around, and he had posted a link that his company was looking for a marketing manager. Well, one of my students who just graduated from Xavier, I knew he was looking for that type of position. And so I immediately grabbed that, made a phone call to my buddy at this company and said, hey, would you be willing to have a informational interview with one of my students? He said, absolutely. So I connected the two of them. Long story short, they had a great chat, sent his resume in, got an interview, but they did end up hiring someone internally. But that's why you follow people, because you can help somebody else, or maybe one of your people that you're following is going to post a job that aligns exactly with your career aspirations.
And that goes to the what Annette said last week, 200 equals 7 equals 1. So there's 199 that are left once you've applied. So
yeah. Well, and the neat thing about finding those positions by following people is that it may not be a job that you would necessarily find if you were just to do a search. Right. It may be something, again, that just comes out of left field. You go, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that. I'm glad I'm following so-and-so. Okay, post on LinkedIn. I'm not a big poster of different things. I follow a lot of folks and I comment on things when asked. And once in a while, I'll throw a post out there, not very often. Usually it's celebrating the student successes of the Student Veteran Center at Xavier, but and how our students are doing, but it's not social media. I hate to even have to say that, but every time I go out there and find an interesting post, invariably the comments delve into something that's not job related, that goes off into religious or political or some other area that just doesn't fit with what I think LinkedIn is supposed to be about, which is networking, connecting people to find jobs. And so just be very, very careful of it. It's not Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you'll see a lot of people that will post in those comment sections, hey, this is a great post. You ought to keep it on Facebook, chuckle, haha. We don't need to see, pictures of your puppy's first, whatever your puppy's doing. So keep it at the professional level. And that's what I like about LinkedIn is it's fairly well policed, and people tend to call each other out and say, hey, this is a professional networking site. Let's keep it that way. Something new on LinkedIn, and I should have showed you when I was out there, but it's a name pronunciation link. You can only do it on the mobile version. I don't know why. I think LinkedIn's trying to fix that. But if you have a name that's difficult to pronounce, you can go out there and say your name, and then it will put a link up that when somebody clicks on it, it'll have you speaking your name on exactly how to pronounce it. So that can be kind of handy. And we talked about turn on, available, and the open work stack. So that's an overview of LinkedIn. Powerful tool. If you're not using it, you need to use it more. And I think once you start using it, you'll understand the power of it and use it to its greatest effect. All right, takeaways. So these are some things that are not necessarily about how to find that job specifically, but they're handy tools. And I'm just going to hit these here in the next 5 minutes that we've got left. Jobscan.co, not .com, .co. I'm going to share my screen here and show you what Jobscan is all about. So what Jobscan does is it takes your resume and the position you're applying for and bounces them together and tells you how good a fit you are for that particular job. So you go to jobscan.co, you say, try sample resume and job, and it does this quick thing where it goes through and says, paste your job, paste the description, and then view results. It scans everything, and then this is kind of what it looks like when it's done. So I'll scroll through this just so you can see recruiters, skills match, cover letter checks. It does things like that. That circle there that says 63%, that tells you how good of a match you are generally for the position. And again, use it as a baseline, not, oh my gosh, I'm only at 39%, I shouldn't apply for it. It means that you need to do some work with your resume to get it to match up with the position description. But here's some other things. It goes through skills and keywords, applicant tracking system tip, how to fool the applicant tracking system. Let's be honest. That's what we're trying to do. Put those correct keywords in there to get you past that darn robotic ATS that kicks too many people out for the wrong reasons. It goes through an education match, formatting. It'll do word counts. You can just see some of the things here. I'll just kind of roll through them real quick. It'll even do page size. If you have enough bold font in your resume. I didn't know that I needed a lot of bold font. I've got some. Is it the right amount? Is it not? I don't know. So anyway, that's the sample. So if you want to do it yourself, you go over here to this little blue button that says update resume and rescan. And then you cut and paste in your resume on the left. And then you do your position description on the right. And then you go down here and hit rescan, and it'll scan it again. Now, it used to be that you just updated this website here in the last year, I think. It used to be that you could only use it once a day, but I think you can use it more. I've been playing with it, and it still gives me the opportunity to update and scan again. So I'd use that to your advantage. That's a handy little tool. All right, so that's jobscan.co. Let's go back to our slideshow. If you happen to be a veteran, LinkedIn offers a free premium subscription for 1 year. If you are happen to be a veteran, let Carol know, and she can put you in touch with me, and I can show you how to do that. Saved searches on all these websites. They have different tools where if you go in there and set up a search, it will feed you jobs that match your description or what you're looking for as they happen, or as often as you want. If you only want to get them every other day, you can set it up that way, once a week, or you can say as they happen. That's a really handy tool to keep you informed of what's happening out there. And I'd use a couple different websites too, because GE may post on Monster, but not Indeed. And if you have the search set up on Indeed, you may not see that GE job posted. I'm not saying they do or don't. I'm just using that as an example. And I already talked about Career Builder's Jobs tab. If you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, it's a good place to start. I thought I knew what I wanted to be, and I talked to some people, and they said you've got too broad ranging of skills. You need to narrow it down, and that's where a Career Builder Jobs tab can help you pick out that one or two careers that really resonate with you. Okay, how are we doing on time, Carol? Wow,
you're great.
Just a little bit ahead of schedule. Okay, that covers most of the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. I'll go back to LinkedIn for a minute. We talked about posting. Also respond to posts. I know that I have some colleagues out there that are working in the veteran servicing area, and they'll often tag me in a post that they make and say, hey, Jason, what did you think about this? And it gives me the opportunity to comment on what they're doing and really have more of a mini collaborative conversation online. So I definitely consider doing that as well. That was one last thing I wanted to hit on LinkedIn.
Great.
Okay.
So if anybody has any questions, I would, this is a great place to ask. And also if we've, again, as Jason said at the beginning, there's so many ways to find opportunities. So, please share in the chat, and Susan is monitoring our chat and taking all of the details off, and we will put together some more information in the follow-up email as we talked about. So, if you have ideas of where to look for open positions, please share them in the chat. And then if you have questions, we'd be happy to answer them as well. Several veterans posting, so that's exciting.
Excellent.
Jason, will you repeat the Northern Kentucky group that you mentioned?
Yes, it's called the Northern Kentucky Accountability Group. It's run through the Kenton County Public Library, and they meet every Wednesday morning. Absolutely an outstanding group. I continue to volunteer there when asked. I got a great deal out of that. I'd highly recommend it if you're in job search mode. Yeah.
And then Ohio Means Jobs, we've talked about that. I know Annette's very engaged in that as well. And then for networking events and online, Eventbrite, we mentioned Meetup. I know Annette mentioned that as well. Eventbrite is one. Let's see. So somebody is pointing out that there seem to be mixed views on the hashtag open to work. We've had this conversation as well about, does it feel desperate or not? And I think that's a personal choice really of kind of where you are. I believe it came out of COVID, and a lot of people were just quickly found themselves looking. So yeah, that's a good question. And I'm sure there's lots of different views on that. So I would think it would be a personal kind of thing. Something to do might be to ask some internal recruiters, right? What they think about that, or offer that up on LinkedIn and see what people share.
Well, that's an interesting point. I hadn't really thought about that. It's a fairly new feature, I think.
Yeah, it is very new.
And so I guess time will tell. I personally think it's kind of a nice touch. That way you don't have to drill down so far, and you go, hey, here's somebody, right off the bat looking at the picture.
Right. So I would say too, somebody's asking about LinkedIn, and again, we wouldn't claim to be power users, so maybe somebody on the group knows this, that why does LinkedIn not clear jobs when they've been filled? I do know a story of someone who kept getting the notification that this open position, and that person knew that they had already applied and interviewed and someone else had got the job and it kept coming to them. So I think there are situations where those jobs may not be open. That's probably true. So I'm not sure why that happens. But
Well,
I imagine, go ahead.
a lot of times I think it's up to the employer. And some of those systems, I'm not sure how they're set up, if they're set to auto renew, but in a large company, I mean, if you're an HR at all, you know how busy it can get.
Right.
And it's easy. I mean, it's as simple as, I posted, my daughter had an old dresser. I put it out on Craigslist, sold it, forgot to remove the ad. A week later, guy calls me. I'm like, oh, I forgot to take down the ad. So
right.
it may be as simple as that.
Right. It's worth checking on. You might go to the company site, see if it's still posted, something like that. So, but yeah, that is a good question. I've experienced that as well.
Well, and to your point, Carol, cross-check those postings. Sometimes they'll be posted on multiple sites, but you'll get a different answer. Like if Kroger posted an HR job on Monster, and they also posted it on Indeed, it may be expired on Monster, but it might be open on Indeed. I've seen that happen before. I've also seen where you can tell that it's a job that's closed on Monster, but if you go to the company site, you can still apply. You can't apply through Monster, but you can apply through the company site. So that's a great point.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen several times.
So we actually have a recruiter from a company on here that says, always check the company website. So yeah, don't go down a rabbit hole until you've made sure, because I'm sure that is the very first place that they're posted. So thank you for that. Yeah, great. Let's see here. Are you familiar with Upwork for contract work postings or matches? I am not. Are you, Jason?
I've heard of it, but I don't use it. I don't know anyone that has.
Okay. Yeah, we can look into it and see if there's a link that we can share. Or if Brenda, if you want to share with us what that is, or if you know about it, we're happy to share that information as well. So thanks for looking at that in here too.
Someone asked a question about what are the best companies to work for in HR. And boy, you talk about a loaded question.
Right. I guess that's really a personal thing and culture fit and
really
what the definition of best is, right?
I know that every company has an HR department. It's people. You've got to have it. And so I think the company culture is probably going to dictate how well you are going to fit with their HR. If you want to be in the HR realm, that'll tell you a lot about how their HR operates. Right.
And you can find that on Glassdoor a lot. Does post what other people have said about. I don't know how trustworthy it is on people's comments, but if you dig down and there's a lot of different comments, you usually can kind of get a sense of that. Or find someone in LinkedIn that worked there and reach out and try to see what they think about it. Oh, great. Okay, we have the Upwork link, so we'll add that as well.
And I put my contact information, my email is up there. If anybody would like to reach out to me, Carol, you said there was a few veterans. Drop me.
Yeah, we actually, everyone can't see chat, so we'll include that in the email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so veterans, please reach out. Jason has extensive experience on that, for sure. So any final questions anyone have? A lot of thanks. Appreciate that. Great. Let me see here.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, folks. So keep after it. I know it's tough being there. Been there a couple times myself, and it's hard. Keep getting up. Keep doing those things that you need to do. Take off the bunny slippers. Take off. Put on your business clothes. Get ready to go. You'll get there.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So let's see here. The General Electric Credit Union and the Xavier Leadership Center, thank you for joining us today. And we hope you're walking away with things you can put in place immediately. I really feel like many of you are, and I know I've learned a lot today too. You will receive an email, as we've said, with printable card of takeaway messages and a survey about your experience. And we will include all of the resources that we've talked about today in there as well. And thank you for sharing those. We also welcome any feedback to improve our weekly webinars. To sign up for the next webinar or to listen to the recording, please visit gecreditunion.org or xavierleadershipcenter.com. Again, I'd like to thank GECU and our presenter, Jason, for this partnership in providing insight to assist you in your job search. We'll see you on September 17th with Sunitha Narananan and how to prepare and answer for any interview questions. So thanks and have a great weekend.
Good luck, everyone. So long.